Hello and welcome back. I'm your host, Tanya Rainier. Today we're talking about brand stories and how you can create and tell your own very unique and compelling brand story so that you can grow your audience, connect, and convert strangers to clients. So make sure you stick around to the end because we are going to be covering so much. We're going to talk about what a brand story is, why brand storytelling is so important. I'm going to share some specific storytelling examples with you so that you can use those as inspiration to create your very own brand story. And we're going to talk about how to tell that story in a way that captures the attention of your ideal audience and really hooks them and pulls them in so that when they hear it, they will feel like they have known you forever and ever and ever, and they will feel like you're BFFs and they'll fall in love with you and they will be excited to follow you everywhere and work with you. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can get notified every time I post a new video just like this one to help you grow your badass business online. And if at any point during this video you have questions, just leave them in the comments below. I hang out here every day and I will personally come back and answer your question so that you are getting the very most out of this video. So let's dive in. What is a brand story anyway? Well, in a nutshell, a brand story is the story of you. It's your evolution, your journey. It is your story told in a way that when your ideal clients hear it, they kind of feel like you're telling their story. So that when they hear you tell your story, they're like, oh my goodness, we have so much in common. This is blowing my mind. I just have to know this person. I have to follow her everywhere. I have to work with her. It's like we're soul sisters. That's the kind of emotional connection that you want in a brand story. It's not to showcase your expertise and tell the world how amazing you are. It's to connect and show your ideal audience that you understand where they are and what they're experiencing because you have been there yourself. You've probably experienced this before. If you listen to podcasts and you hear those interviews, the podcast host, when interviewing a guest, will typically go, okay, so tell me your story. How'd you get here? And the guest will go on a quick 2-minute spiel to talk about their story. And when they do that, the people listening are hearing that and going, yeah, I don't relate to that at all. Or they're going, oh my gosh, this person's amazing. And they're hooked. And that's what makes them want to listen to the rest of the interview. That's what makes them Google their name and find them on social medias and search them. And that is what makes them want to buy from them. Now, the reason this is important is it brings in sales. I can't even begin to tell you how many clients have found me and hired me over the years because they heard me on a podcast. Telling your story in a way that resonates is hugely important. And it's not just for podcasts. Your story is something that you're going to tell over and over in multiple ways, in multiple areas. Your About Me page on your website, you will shorten this to create a bio that you'll use on different social media platforms. Yes, you will use it for podcast interviews or for speaking engagements. And this is also a story that you can tell when you meet people at networking events or weddings or areas where you're just connecting and people want to know how you got to where you are. And this is important because people do business with people they like and they trust. It's not enough to be really, really good at what you do. You also have to be relatable and likable. And since people like people who are like them, and they like when they have things in common with people, when they can relate with people, when you tell a story that reveals who you really are and shows your ideal clients how much you have in common, they are going to fall in love with you. They're going to feel an instant connection. That whole, it takes time to build know, like, and trust, it goes away because it instantly builds trust. It instantly builds rapport. And it helps to make them feel more comfortable hanging out with you and buying from you. Now, I have a framework that I'm going to share with you for developing your own brand story. But first, I would love to know, Do you have a brand story? Have you ever done this work, or is this completely new for you? Leave me a comment below and let me know. Before we dive in, I want to share with you an example so that you can kind of get a feel for what a brand story is and what it sounds like. So I'm going to pretend that I am a life coach for teenage girls. And as a life coach, I've had my own life experiences, especially as a teenager. And so the story I'm going to share with you is designed to captivate an audience, not necessarily a teenager, but a parent, because in this case, the parent is the one hiring me, although I'm working for teenage girls. And this is based off of a client that I actually have. So this is going to make this really easy, but I'm going to pretend that I'm her for the sake of this video, okay? It started off, I had a normal household. My parents were together, everything was happy until they got divorced and we moved. And I was suddenly thrown into a new environment with all new friends. I didn't know anybody, and I was struggling with what was going on at home. And I was always a really outgoing person, but this stress and this trauma made me feel small and insignificant, and I didn't feel like I fit in. And while that was when I was 12, it just got worse for the next couple of years. 13, 14, 15 were awful. I struggled in school. I wasn't getting good grades. My parents were worried about me because I was quiet and I really wasn't talking to anybody. I just kind of went inward. And the more I went inward, the more alone I felt. And I would try to make friends, but I just didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I didn't feel like anyone understood me. And there were those days where I sat alone at the lunch table and nobody would talk to me. There were those times where the girls would have sleepovers and I wouldn't get invited. And it crushed me. I didn't admit it at the time, but it was so hard. And there was a point where I really didn't know if I wanted to live. And then by some miracle, I made a friend that changed my life. She was a couple years older than me. She was into personal growth and spirituality, which was a complete foreign concept to me at the age of 16. But I really felt at home and I loved the conversations we had. And so I started to dig into this stuff, and we had conversations about mindset and personal growth, and I felt myself getting stronger. And that experience changed my life. I started to see myself in a different way. I started to love myself more, and I started to accept myself the way that I was. I wasn't afraid to be me. And I stopped caring what other people thought so much, and I started to find peace and comfort in just being. And now that I'm older and I look back at that experience, I just think, I don't want any teenage girl to struggle alone the way that I did. If only teenage girls had the tools to understand how to love themselves and how to accept themselves as they are and how to be strong. Like, how different would life have been? And so that's why I do what I do. I coach teenage girls because I want them to have the tools to be amazing, to feel powerful, and love the skin they're in. And I don't ever want them to feel like they're not good enough. And so if you know a teenage girl who is in that position and isn't loving herself the way that she should, or if you're a mom and you have a teenage girl who's in that position, please come over to my website so that you can learn more about how to empower her. And there you go. That is a brand story. So now if you, as the viewer or listener, heard that brand story and you resonated with that because there was something in that story that connected with you and brought you back to those years where you were a teenager, and you were like, yes, this is what I needed then. This is what girls of today need now. You are going to connect with me. If you're a mother of a teenage girl, you're definitely going to connect with me, right? And you might head on over to my website to look for resources. You might love some of the services that I'm offering, and you might book a call to talk about me working with your daughter. And that is the beauty of a brand story. It allows you to captivate and connect in a way that you are skipping all the noise, all the showing up on social media, posting content, all of that stuff, and going right to This is what I do. This is what I'm about. This is my story. This is how I can help. And here's how you can learn more. Now that we've covered that and I've given you an example, let's go through this process together so that you can create your own brand story. Okay, so your brand story is the evolution of how you got to where you are now, doing what you do. So I want you to visualize this story as being you're kind of normal, and then you go down and you hit this rock bottom moment, and then something happens where you are able to pull yourself back up. So whether that was you found help from somebody else, you did it on your own, you conquered it and you beat the struggle, you beat the odds, and you are now at this place of success or triumph or happiness, right? But there was a struggle, there was a problem, and then there was a solution. Okay. So I like to use this upside down bell curve to create this visual aspect of creating your brand story. And in this story, there are certain elements. Now, here they are broken down into some elements that are going to help give you the prompts. So, this is the framework or the structure of creating your brand story. So, there's the beginning, right? Where it started, who you were before this struggle, before this process. And then there's the problem. How did the problem begin? What triggered it? Where did this problem start? And then, of course, there was the desire and the struggle, what you wanted, but it wasn't working and why you weren't getting it, and the feelings that you felt. This is the part where you're talking about, I felt vulnerable. I felt ashamed. I felt alone. So, this is the part where you really want to talk about how the struggle felt inside of you. Now, in order for a brand story to be captivating, you have to get a little bit vulnerable. A lot of people want to skip this step because the ego says, don't get vulnerable. That's uncomfortable. I don't want to tell you about my rock bottom moment. I'm ashamed of it. I don't want to tell you about the shift that I had to reach out and get help because I want to be the expert. I want to be the person that, everything was fine. I might have had a problem. I had a desire and I was struggling a little bit, but I got the knowledge and now I'm amazing. And now I help people be amazing too, where they want to skip the feelings, the rock bottom moment in the shift. And let me tell you something. It's this area down here where the magic happens. This is what really connects to people. If you skip this, you just sound like every other ego tripping person out there talking about how great they are. You don't really resonate. It's the feelings, the vulnerability that pull people in. So if you're uncomfortable with that, here's my challenge to you. Get comfortable with it because it's important, especially for a brand story. So now let me give you some prompts that are going to help you to create this. All right, here they are, right? It's the same premise, the beginning. In the beginning, everything was fine until this thing happened. I wanted this. I tried this, and this, and nothing was working. It felt like everything was falling apart. I finally hit rock bottom when, and then the shift happened. The shift is that aha moment, that come to Jesus moment, the mental shift that you made in your mind, the person that came into your life, the program that you purchased, the thing that changed everything. And then from there, you gained some knowledge, some skills, insights that you didn't have previously. So this is what you know now. And this is what you do with that information. Now that you know what you know, what is it that you're doing with that? Now you've started a business. Now you help other people who are just like you, who are down somewhere in the dumps, down here struggling. You help them get out of that struggle mode and get to where you are now. And this is the story of you. So now with this in mind, okay, with you seeing this, I'm going to give you one more. This is a story, and I'm borrowing this from one of my clients. We've recently crafted her brand story, so it's fresh in my mind still. Her name is Kate, and she is a VA success coach, and she helps VAs who are running their businesses from home, who are also moms, balance it all and get the right mindset and the strategies to make it work. Okay. So now I'm going to pretend that I'm Kate and I'm going to tell you my story. So I met my dream guy. We got married. Everything was fine until I got pregnant. And I realized I think I might want to stay home with my baby. I don't want to go back to corporate full time. However, I was young at the time and we didn't have the money to sustain a family on just my husband's income. So I started to look for opportunities and ways to work from home and Googled all the things and I found VA work. And I thought, well, how easy and simple is that going to be? Duh, like piece of cake, until I started it. And I spent 3 years doing this and I realized this is a lot harder than I thought. I had no idea how to balance being a mom and working from home with also taking care of client work. And I was working all the time. I felt like I was failing at everything. I was failing at being a mom. I was failing at my business because although I was working all the time, I wasn't making that great of money. And I wasn't working with clients that I loved. I was taking odd jobs here and there just to make ends meet. And it was like a constant battle. And so I finally hit that rock bottom moment when my husband and I were talking about finances and we realized it was time for me to get a job. And that was the last thing I wanted to do. So I gave myself 30 days. And in that time, I really assessed what I was missing. And I realized the problem was me. I didn't have the right mindset, I didn't have the right strategies. And so I hired a coach. And although we didn't have the money and it was a huge leap of faith, it was the best thing I could have done because I know that I needed somebody to hold me accountable and show me what to focus on and what I didn't need to do and help me get on track to making this a viable business. And that is exactly what happened. It didn't take long after working with this coach, and I hit my first 5K month and I never looked back. For the first time, I felt like I was a part of my client's team. I loved what I was doing and I was bringing money into the house. And that was the most amazing feeling ever. And over the years, I've talked to so many other women who are doing exactly what I was doing years ago. And that's why I created the business that I did. I help moms build thriving VA businesses so that they can bring money into the house, maybe even become the breadwinner, but also have that flexibility and freedom to be with their kids when they want to. And so if you are a VA and you want to learn more about how to make this work for you, head on over to my website, right? And that's how that works. So you see that in telling that story, I hit every single one of these bullets. I told you where I was. I took you on the journey to rock bottom and how I brought my way back up. And I told you about how I work with people now to take them through this same process. So if you are a struggling VA and you hear my story, you're going to resonate and you're going to self-identify with where you are on this curve. And you're going to think to yourself, this is exactly where I am. This is exactly what I'm going through. I need to reach out and hire this person because she knows, she gets me, and she can help me get to where I want to go. Okay, that's all there is to it. Pretty simple once you have the framework, right? So let me know. Was this helpful for you? Did you enjoy this process? Let me know in the comments below. And if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, and share with somebody else who you think might also get some benefit from this. Thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do that. And I appreciate you hanging out with me today. I hope that this gives you everything that you need. And if there's anything else I can do, please let me know. I am always here to help. All right, beautiful. I love you to pieces, and I will see you back here on the next episode.